What is he?
Steve!
Get back in!
Drive!
What's the matter?
Drive!
Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I do videos on creepy and disturbing things. Today, we are going to revisit another internet classic, No Through Road. If you've never heard of No Through Road before, let me just start off by saying that it's probably one of the most brilliant web series ever made on the internet. But of course, that's just a personal opinion. The video was originally posted on January 15th, 2009 by a YouTube account named Indracole3. Probably said that wrong. The original video was only about like 9 minutes long, and it scared the crap out of a lot of people. It's got this Blair Witch Project feel and this found footage type style that made everybody think, well, at least a large portion of people think when it came out that it could have been real, which should perhaps just give you just kind of an inkling of how well made this is. The creator then posted parts 2, 3, and 4 a couple years later. Let's start with the main video, the original No Through Road. The video starts off with a flash of the UK Intelligence Service seal. And then in text, on December 15th, 2008, 4 17-year-old boys from Stevenage, Hertfordshire, were reported missing by their families. On December 17th, their bodies were found at Broomhall Farm, 10 miles outside of Stevenage, in the car they had been driving. The residence was thought to have been long abandoned, but upon investigation, police officers found signs of recent inhabitants. The following video is unedited footage from the digital camcorder found in the car. This has been released with the family's consent in hopes of aiding the investigation. The video starts playing, and it's 4 boys just messing around in a car. They're listening to music, they're filming, and just generally having a good time. Teenage boys being very teenage boy-y. They suddenly go past a sign that says No Through Road, and while one of them does make a comment that they probably aren't supposed to be there, they end up driving through this tunnel beyond the sign anyway. They soon drive past a sign that says Bennington on it and suddenly realize that, yeah, they're lost. They do pull over. Some of them are drinking beer. Steven, the one filming, is filming some roadkill, which these are just signals that none of them are concerned about not knowing where they are. Steven then gets out of the car at another point and tells the group that he thinks he saw a guy in a mask. This seems to cause some hesitation as they urge him to get back in the car, and he runs back in the car, but they're still not like full on panic. Then the boys see a sign and realizes it says Bennington again. They keep driving and they realize they keep passing the same sign no matter what they do or where they try to turn off. They finally do start to get a little worried about their predicament. It seems that driving through the tunnel got them caught in some sort of time loop. One of them turns on the radio to try and calm them down a bit, but instead of music, we hear this very creepy looping track.
Just go, I don't want to stay here.
But, oh, Chris, stop looking up.
Ollie, I don't want to drive down this road anymore. We've done it 3 times and we haven't got anywhere.
Okay, should we try that way then? Let's try and go towards bottom.
You put the radio on?
Yeah, but might as well. Hang on a sec, Ollie, I can't get the seat ready.
What is this?
Oh, it's like the scariest thing ever.
What station was that?
Now, this creepy, loopy track that we hear in No Through Road is actually directly from the 2008 horror movie, The Strangers. However, you may not know that this loop of a song is actually originally a very harmless song. The song is called My First Lover by singer Gillian Welch. So many people argue that this is just a nod to The Stranger, and maybe somehow that horror movie kind of inspired this. But you could also make the argument, and I personally like the theory, that this music playing in No Through Road actually means that No Through Road takes place in the same universe as The Strangers. Okay, back to the video. The boys are relieved when the music stops and suddenly they can see headlights. For a brief moment, they think they're back in the regular world. But alas, they soon see the No Through Road sign again and become stuck yet again. Now this is where the true panic sets in, and you can just feel it in the car.
What the fuck?
How did we get here? We were just on the phone.
Just reverse, Ollie. Reverse, go on.
What do we do?
Just don't sit here, I don't want to sit.
The radio then turns back on by itself this time, and they now see the figure with the mask in front of their car. They all start screaming, understandably, as it approaches them. Steven, who holds the camera, gets away and tries to run. We can hear him say, "He can't see me, he can't see me. I think I'm okay." But, of course, right afterwards, the masked man catches up to him and proceeds to kill Steven with his own camcorder. That's where the first video ends. So this first video is pretty straightforward. The boys are obviously got stuck in some sort of time loop after following a sign that said they weren't supposed to go that way. And then they get attacked by this man. And then they meet their unfortunate fate at the hands of this crazed maniac. Some have also made the argument that that UK Secret Service's government seal thing we see at the very beginning of the video is actually important, and that that might actually be a clue that the UK government knows about this area of the UK and knows that this sign is dangerous and knows what happens when people disregard the sign. But story's not over. Video 2 starts with, "This footage has been released without consent." This video takes place about 3 years later. We see James, who miraculously survived the first incident, go back to the spot with a guy that was not from the original video, named Dave. James goes to leave flowers at the boys' site and to pay his respect, and he later explains in the video that he felt like he just owed that to them. James says that he doesn't remember anything from that night, just being dragged out of the car and then waking up in the hospital. That will be important later. Back in the car, we hear the two boys talk about a TV show that one of them has been watching, and interestingly, the TV show is about time travel. It's very soon after this that we realize James and Dave got themselves into the same situation as the first video. They again got stuck in the time loop and are horrified to see the Bennington sign yet again, confirming their worst fears. They can't find any signal on their phones in order to call for help, and they are just looping and driving through this loop again and again. At around the 7:18 mark, while they're discussing what to do in the car, you can see a figure walk behind the car. We're expected to think this is the masked man, but it's actually not. We get kind of a jump scare at this point, and we realize that it's Steven. Steven's all bloody and freaking out, and James explains to him that 3 years has passed. Steven thinks it's only been a few hours. The second tape ends with them trying to comfort Steven outside of the car. Video number 3 is pretty short. It picks up where the last one left off, with Steven back in the car with Dave and James. They feel relief as James's phone rings, but it's just weird distorted noises on the other end, and no one says anything, which of course freaks them out. As they continue in vain to get out of the endless circle, they suddenly see the masked man in the road ahead of them again. Steven instructs them to drive right into him. They try, but the whole thing glitches and they end up back in the tunnel instead. The man is nowhere to be found. So the last video, they clearly crashed the car in all of the chaos, and now the car won't start. One of the boys comments that Steven is all bloody again, but Steven says it's okay, I don't think it's my blood. That will also be important later. They see something in the distance and walk towards it, and it's this creepy little shack with candles everywhere, and you see a doll, and then you see the mask, and then you see another mask. And the camera pans to a whole stack of the masks. There's all these writings on the wall about no hope and time and stuff like that. We also see the phrase "time for crunchy," which is something Steven said in the car in the first video.
It doesn't actually take many, except my car moves to the left.
Just wait till we're on the same time.
After they leave the shack, they talk about the writings on the wall. How did he know the things we said? And Dave says maybe he saw the video. And Steven turns to him and says, "What video?" The three of them then hide when Steven starts weirdly humming the radio song again, and then they're shocked to see them in the past about to be killed by the masked man not too far away as the radio sounds again for real. James pulls out a mask that he stole from the shed and he runs off. Steven fails to stop him, and then they see his past self trying to run from the man. Present Steven turns to Dave, the camera person, saying, "If I'm alive now, then I think I can prevent this." saying he must have somehow not died in the past if he's here now. Then Stephen puts on a mask too. He runs off to chase his past self. We see another figure with a hat and a mask on. This is the original masked man. So right now there are 3 masked people: James, present Stephen, and then whoever was the original killer. So then we see him saying, he can't see me, he can't see me, I think I'm okay again. So we know that we are watching the first video timeline and the 4th video timeline overlap. And then suddenly present Stephen in the mask attacks past Stephen, knocking him unconscious. This allows present Stephen to say, I'm gonna get you to the car. So we can interpret that since present Stephen understands what is happening, he's trying to save his past self. However, past Stephen wakes up though and is scared to see the masked man. So they struggle and switch positions. Past Stephen overpowers present Stephen, and past Stephen then kills present Stephen. Past Stephen, freaking out and realizing what he's just done, runs away. We turn to see another figure in the mask again, who I would assume is the original 3rd masked man. And that's where the videos end. So let's dive into this just a little bit. First of all those masks in the shed. I think a lot of people assume that because there's so many masks in the shed, that is proof that this is a time loop, so a mask appears every time the time loop is repeated. I've seen other theories that just say they think that there are a lot more masked men out there and that there's more than just the 3 of them and there's endless masked men because there's so many masks. And then here's where my analysis comes in, and it's going to get a little bit confusing. Of course, it's a time loop story. It's going to be confusing. But remember, there's several different ways that you can interpret this. So if you interpret it differently, that's totally cool. Share it down below. But this is what I believe happened. So obviously the boys got stuck in an endless time loop. The future selves, James and Stephen, are both watching the original event happen with their friend Dave. The masked man is clearly either Stephen or James from one of the other timelines. This is proven by the fact that the shed has phrases that they said in the car, and only James and Stephen would remember those. It's also clear by the fact that we see them both put the masks on at the end to go and interfere with their past selves. The 3rd masked man we see in the hat is the quote-unquote original, but it's just Stephen or James from one of the other timelines. It is possible that the masked man is always Stephen and only Stephen, and that he's trying to kill the boys every time he sees them so that they can be freed from the time loop. Since he has experienced it, he knows that death is better than the alternative. Or I also like this other theory that I actually watched another YouTuber talk about. YouTuber, the channel is Anything, made a video on this too. And she had another really good theory that the masked man could be James. Since James clearly survives as we see him years later, the masked man is actually him dragging himself out of the car to save his own life, and the others get killed. That means that Dave actually was one of the original 4 because his future self comes to the past, but then he gets killed. Since they said there was 4 bodies that were found in the car, but James gets away, so that means someone has to die in his place for there to be 4 bodies. I really like that theory. That might be confusing. If it is, listen to it again. But I do like that theory because it explains why there was 4 bodies, 4 dead 17-year-old boys. They didn't say the names of the boys that were found dead. I like that theory because it explains a lot of the gaps. However, I personally do believe that the masked man is Stephen, and the creators meant for it to be Stephen. Since we have a past, present, and future timeline, sometimes all happening at the same time. Stephen is this endless loop. His past self accidentally kills his present self, but then his past self is free to run away. So Stephen is both dead and alive. I think this may be the case for James too. His future self keeps going back to save his past self from being killed, by Masked Steven. The problem is, I know there's a ton of paradoxes and contradictions that go along with this story, and I don't think it's ever going to be clearly cut and dry. It's very infuriating how confusing time travel stories can get. So I don't think it's possible to explain every little thing because there's endless paradoxes. However, overall, no matter what, I do like and subscribe to the theory that the masked man is actually trying to save the boys from the time loop. He doesn't want the boys to recognize him because he knows that they would like freak out seeing one of them also in front of them, but he also knows he needs to go and kill them because otherwise they're going to be trapped in this forever. But the contradiction is that they're going to be trapped in this forever anyway, because in one timeline or another, they're dead and then also alive. Oh, my brain is exhausted. Please let me know if you have any better theories than mine down below, because I'm sure you guys can come up with better stuff than me as always. Please give this video a like to help the channel out. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end, and I will see you all in the next one.